Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the EDC Coffee Chat. We are really happy to have Tim O'Connell on with us today. Tim is the Deputy Director of the Washington State. Sorry, let me get some folks on mute here. Anyway, he works for the USDA, and he's the Washington State Deputy Director. And so before we let Tim get going and share his presentation, I'll ask everybody to put yourself on mute, other than Tim, of course, so that we don't inadvertently pick up any background noise. And if you have any questions, of course, either put them in the chat or you can raise your hand and put them and we'll call on you. So with that, I wanted to, again, thanks Tim for joining us. And Tim, if you'd like, you can take it away.
Sure, Colleen, thank you very much. And hello and good morning, everybody. Great to be here this morning. I'm coming to you from Sequim. Actually, I live in Sequim these days. A little bit of background about myself. I've been with USDA for almost 40 years now. I started in Washington State after graduating from WSU and did 5 years of ag lending in Eastern Washington and had an opportunity to go to Hawaii. And so I took a 26-year hiatus and lived on the Big Island and raised my family, and then decided to come back to the mainland about 7 years ago and took a regional position with USDA. So I worked across 13 states in our innovation center. And then this opportunity came up with the deputy director position and basically came back home. And actually yesterday I celebrated my 36th anniversary with my wife, and we got married in the Olympic National Forest on the lower Elwha. So I have family and friends in this area, and I felt like I went out in the world and came back and have all this experience to give to the communities in Washington State in my position. A little bit about USDA. I'll kind of go over some of our programs, and then feel free to ask questions as I go through this, but we're basically a funding agency. We are a federal agency, even though I work for the Washington State office, and we have staff throughout the state. So I'll give that in a moment. Next slide, please. Yeah, was there for a second. Yeah, a little bit about rural development. People oftentimes wonder how come rural development does what we do. We're one of the few agencies that actually doesn't really directly deal with agriculture in USDA, which is a little bit of ironic, but it is what it is. We do have some programs, so we have over 70 altogether. We do have some that are specific to agriculture, but most of our programs are around economic development, business development, and social development in rural communities. And a lot of our programs got started way back for example, our housing program, if you go to the next slide, got started when back in the Great Depression, when farmers, excuse me, couldn't get credit for housing. So Congress created a program for them for housing programs. And same with some of our other programs. It's just created as a need because a lot of credit couldn't reach rural communities. And so that's where we have primarily our programs we have. So we're kind of stovepiped into three main tranches of our focus: rural business cooperative service, our housing, and our utilities, which is basically broadband, telecommunications, and electricity. Next slide, please. We have 47 state offices across the U.S. We're one of the few federal agencies that does deliver our programs at the local level instead of the regional or national level. And so I'm actually officially based out of the Olympia State Office, but because of COVID and the telework policies, I am able to work from my home in Swim 3 days a week. I do travel 101 to Olympia twice a week to head down there. We also have offices in Mount Vernon, Spokane, Wenatchee, and Yakima. And we do have still are paying for a lease in Port Angeles, but we haven't been able to staff a person there in a number of years because of our inability to hire. So we do have plans, hopefully, to get that staff, but not sure exactly how that's going to pan out. Next slide, please. Basically, like I said, we're here to provide financing for our rural areas and these main areas of housing, economic and business development, a lot of healthcare and first responders. I think if you subscribe to our newsletter that we get, and I'll give you a link to that later, we recently actually announced some projects that we did for Clallam County Fire Districts. We bought some ambulances, I believe, through some grant programs we had through some of the. I lose track of the amount of funding bills that have come through lately, but there's been a lot of money available, and fortunately, Clallam County has been able to take advantage of that. We do essential community facilities, and then of course our basic infrastructure as well, like I mentioned. Next one, please. Next slide. Kind of the caveat for our programs, when people come to us, they're oftentimes looking for grants, and we generally don't have a lot of grants available. They're limited, and it's basically on how our programs are given to us via Congress. So we're primarily a loan agency. I've heard anywhere between the 5th to the 13th largest bank in the US. If you put up our loan portfolio against theirs, about 91% of our funding over the last 11 years has been loans. But again, we do have availability of grants as well. Like I said, we have our 60 plus programs, 70, depends on what Congress gives us. So unfortunately, it's not easy to navigate our system and our programs because there's so many. And I guess hopefully the takeaway today is that if you have a question, feel free to contact myself or any of our staff to help you navigate through that. And we like to work with people and projects early on, so we can help find the right program and or the right partner to help with your project. So we're famously consistently inconsistent in the way we deliver funding because of the different cycles that we have, whether we go through a NOFA, which is a notice of funding availability, which is most grant programs are announced that way, or whether it's annual appropriations or whether it's farm bill. It's just, there's a lot of variables on our end on which determines how programs are delivered. So again, the best thing to do, my last very slide, is our local contact staff for the programs that we do have. Next slide, please. And I'm going to take a real quick dive into our funding programs real quick, the three main ones to talk about the availability. And our biggest portfolio is our rural housing. We basically are a mortgage lender, either direct. We work with very low and low income families. We also have a multifamily housing program where we finance large duplexes and basically apartment complexes in rural areas. We do have availability of low income repair loans and grants, as well as housing preservation. And so that's the biggest, again, our portfolio. And our housing director, Trudy Teeter, who actually worked in our Port Angeles office for a number of years before headed down to Olympia. She was at a national meeting this couple of weeks ago, and Washington State now has the highest average medium household income in the nation. We're actually ahead of Hawaii, we're ahead of California. And so it really makes it difficult for our low and very low income people to afford these places, housing. So we've actually been very creative in Washington State, and we have a self-help program that leads the nation, where families can pool their labor and basically put sweat equity into the houses. And we have some good partners in Clallam County that are helping with those types of programs. We have 80 self-help grantees across the country, and we have 8 in Washington State. So we actually have 10% of the nation's self-help people are entities in Washington State. So we're very proud of that and our ability to deliver housing programs. Colleen, you got your hand up?
Yeah, quick question, please. So I just want to clarify, you said that we have the highest household income in the nation now?
I'm sorry, the highest medium household cost or prices.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
the
I haven't
highest
had my cup
median
of coffee
priced
yet.
home.
Yes,
Okay. Okay,
yeah,
that makes
the
more sense.
cost of
Okay.
home. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Our homes are more expensive than California or
yep,
Hawaii. Got it. Wanted to
yeah.
clarify.
Our
Okay.
income limits for King County is, I think, are not income limits. 8 o'clock is a tough start date, but anyway, housing cost in King County, I think the average house is about $750,000 that we can loan on, which it makes it tough for our people to apply or qualify for just based on income.
And
So
according to the University of Washington's Center for Real Estate Research, they compare every quarter what the median income is compared to the price of a home that's for sale. And we are the second in Clallam County. We are the second most least affordable county in the state. The least affordable is San Juan, and we're number 2.
yes, and that's not a good statistic to be known for.
No, especially when our state's the top. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's where our programs can help is because we can take our interest rates down as low as 1%. So it makes it more affordable. Um, and in the work that I did previous coming to the deputy position across the 13 states, housing was always took care of itself, but it's really through the pandemic and coming out of it, housing is a huge issue. There's workforce, it's a workforce impediment in rural areas. I think people are recognizing that, and it's going to take an all hands approach because our program can't do it. HUD can't do it alone. So we need to partner with rural communities, the nonprofits and the other entities to move the needle in this area so we can help us solve that problem. So yeah, a lot of work to do in the housing section. Next slide, please. Rural business development. Our biggest program in this one is our business and industry loan guarantee program. It's where we work with a bank and can guarantee a loan for a small or a rural business. We can actually go up to a $25 million guarantee on this. So it's not necessarily a small business, but it does have to be in a rural area. And for this program, the population limit is 50,000. So our programs, like I mentioned previously, are all over the board for eligibility and population requirements, and we range from 5,000 to 50,000, but this is our 50,000 limit as far as population program. We do have some grants in this program as well. Our rural business development grant a nonprofit can apply for to help a rural, and this is where it has to be a small business to assist small businesses in training, technical assistance, and other help small business get going. Value-added producer grants is one of our programs that is specific to farmers. So farmers and ranchers are able to apply for a grant if they want to help add value to their ag product. And then the intermediary lending program is where we make a 1% loan to a nonprofit, then turns around and relends that to very small businesses, which is a good source of capital. And then our one of our bigger programs, as funding wise, is our Rural Energy for America program, which is a program that helps provide a grant to small businesses and farmers and ranchers to either add energy efficiency or make energy efficiency improvements and or add a renewable energy system to them. And we've done a lot of different types of projects in Washington State that I've seen over the years in helping small businesses reduce their energy costs, either through efficiency measures, replacing lighting, insulation, that kind of thing, and or actually adding of course, solar is the big one, solar system to their business to help reduce their energy costs. Next slide, please. Our community facilities program, I call that our nonprofit financing. It's where we basically work with the community or nonprofit to help fund an infrastructure need. Been heavy in healthcare lately and hospitals because rural healthcare is such a huge issue. We do a lot of schools, daycare centers, and then a lot of work in our with rural fire departments and rural first responders and helping with them with some of their needs. And then a lot of community centers as well, whether it's a community that needs a new city hall or a justice center. And we are the direct lender that, although all of our programs, we have guaranteed programs as well, that we work with lenders on that. So next slide, please. Another important project and funding program we have is our rural utilities, water and sewer. Helps with, of course, with water and safe drinking water and sanitary waste disposal. Important for rural communities and helping businesses, because if you don't have the water and or the sewer to help, then it can be a limit toward business development. So we do have water and environmental programs available.
I know sewer is a big issue for the city of Port Angeles being able to expand housing there. Is that something that they could possibly work with USDA on?
Yes.
Or a developer? How would that work, Tim?
Developers generally aren't, I mean, a for-profit developer wouldn't be eligible for water and sewer programs, but a municipality generally are. Or oftentimes a homeowners association is our applicant, or a public utility district, something like that. And it's really, in years past, that program really hasn't been designed for anticipating future development, but we're seeing that sometimes you need to build something now in anticipation of future growth. So we're getting better at that. But if you know of someone that wants to talk further on that, I can put them in contact with the right people.
Well, I know I saw Calvin's on the call. I don't know if he wants to add anything, or Sean, if you do. But so I know, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say thank you for the flag, and we'll follow up accordingly.
Okay, great. I think it's that they need to expand to do infill within the city. In order to do developments in certain areas, their sewer needs to be expanded within the city, is what I understand the issues.
Yeah, it sounds on the surface it could be eligible, but there's so many nuances, unfortunately. I mean, that's why we have people, so we can help you through those different programs. And if not us, we try to help find the right partner as well.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Okay, our biggest one of our biggest demanded programs these days is, of course, telecommunications. One of the things we've learned coming out of the pandemic that high-speed internet isn't luxury anymore; it's a necessity. And so, Colleen, you were mentioning that you have limited bandwidth, and we've come a long way. I got started in the broadband world before the pandemic as part of my previous position, because the programs that were coming out were rather complex, and a lot of rural communities weren't at the position, and they didn't really know the questions to ask when it came to broadband or high-speed internet. So I worked with the National Telecommunications and Information Agency, NTIA, and we did some what we called capacity building workshops around broadband. And at the time, Monica Babine with WSU was big on BAT teams, the broadband action teams. And I think because NTIA now got the bulk of the infrastructure funding for internet, those BAT teams have come up as kind of the solution to help communities figure out how to navigate the programs and the funding that's coming down so that all residents can get served with high-speed internet. And our biggest one in this program is our Reconnect program. And we just announced today, although Clallam County didn't get a funding, we did do a $30 million grant for Okanagan PUD to help internet up there. So large grants in this program are available, and smaller ones are telecommunications. It's a loan program, Community Connect, and a popular one is our distance learning and telemedicine, where we're able to work on the equipment side for distance learning and telemedicine. And one of our projects we like to tout is with the University of Washington, their School of Dentistry. We've made them close to $3 million in grants over the last 3 years to help them provide dental education services to rural communities in Eastern Washington, that they don't have to come into Seattle to get a dental degree or whatever certificate they provide. They can do it in their hometown where they're located by this grant program. So we're quite proud of the ability to reach our rural residents with this program and helping them actually, like you were mentioning, Colleen, get some quality jobs in rural areas through that. So people are learning in place and then delivering those services in the places they're living.
So I know right now Peninsula College is starting up a dental hygienist program that they hope to do next year, I believe. But it's incredibly expensive to get it started up. So they could potentially, but I think their thinking is it needs to be hands-on, and the students would need to come to them. We've got a huge need within our counties. Is that something that perhaps they should be potentially connecting with you about?
I mean, we might be able to find some different resources for them, but the distance learning telemedicine specifically just buys the equipment on either end for that real-time connection. It doesn't do programming. It doesn't do any hiring. It just provides the equipment. But you know, the federal government,
equipment for the telecommunications, not the equipment for to train to be a dental hygienist.
Right. I mean, if it's for the University of Washington example, they actually have dental training equipment that they're able to purchase through this because it's connected to the software, it's part of the essential equipment to get the distance learning out there.
Okay, got it.
So they're able to use some of specialized equipment for that program because it is specific to training remotely for dental.
Got it. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Mentioned data. We after decades, we finally have some public-facing data that are available. So if you go on our Rural Data Gateway site, and you can take, if you have time and the inclination, you can take a look and see where we've actually funded our different programs over the time. I'm not going to do a deep dive, but just let you know that it's available in kind of giving you an idea of where we do our funding. You can filter it by county, you can filter it by congressional district, you can filter it by different types of programs. So that information is available. Next slide, please. This kind of giving you an idea this is for fiscal year 22, our last complete fiscal year. Our overall portfolio for Washington State's about $6.8 billion in loans and grants. We did 39.7 nationally, so we do pretty well in Washington State. This is, again, single family housing is our biggest, followed by multifamily, and those are generally in the form of not new construction, but rental assistance for the tenants. Business programs is up there as well. So you can see that we actually do a pretty good business in Washington State for the different programs. So it's not a matter of accessibility. What we're trying to do is trying to change the pipeline to get our programs to people that actually haven't had success accessing them yet for different reasons. Next slide, please. We do have an eligibility map because that's one of the first questions we get asked is, are we an eligible area? So we do have that eligibility map, so you can plug in an address and it gives you an idea if where your location is, what program it's available for, to take some of the guesswork out of it. And I will, Kathleen or Colleen, you can make these slides available to the members afterwards.
Yes, we'll have it on our website. Sure. And if anybody wants a copy directly emailed, just let me or Lori know and we'll forward it to you.
You can't touch the screen and hit the, it won't go into the website. So I think that PowerPoint has open links on that.
Okay. And you know what I'll do? I'll put it in the chat. I'll download it and put it in the chat right now for everyone.
Appreciate that. Next slide. Other resources. We do have an Innovation Matters newsletter that comes out of our Innovation Center. And if you want to sign up for that, we does provide the different types of funding resources that we provide nationally, as well as other agencies that pertain to rural. So it's more of a rural collection of different types of information that's available. We're trying to do a better job with our tribal nations. So we do have a focus on working with tribes in Washington State. And then as far as other rural issues, we do have some other resources available in the form of resource guides that help and talk about childcare, recreation, and workforce development. Next slide. Our national priorities are, this is coming directly from the administration. Addressing climate change and environmental justice is one of the priorities, and we prioritize this by our point system. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is also a priority, as well as creating more and better market opportunities. And then our projects, since we're oftentimes oversubscribed for our funding, these priority points can really help bring an application to the top of the list. Next slide. We're also focusing on the care economy with other federal partners, trying to figure out, again, one of the impediments toward workforce and economic development is childcare. So we're working with Washington State, with Federal Reserve Bank, Housing and Urban Development, and EDA, others, and trying to help figure out how to best bring resources to this issue. We have some focus communities that we're working on. Okanagan County, Othello, and the Chilwater Bay Tribe are 3 focus areas that we have. And then really what we're trying to do is work outside the box with our existing programs and trying to find new partners and new approaches to the way we do things. And again, like I said, change the flow of the pipeline for project development funding, because like I said, one of the previous slides, that we do have lots of funding that does come to Washington State, but we're just trying to find new ways and new approaches to getting new partners and new resources out there to underserved areas. And these are our contacts. Helen Price Johnson is my boss, our state director. Rural Development is one of the few federal agencies that actually has a political appointee at the local level, and Helen Price Johnson is that person. And our Connie Reynolds covers our nonprofit financing and our water environmental programs. Trudy is oversees our single family housing, and Brandon oversees our business programs. And those are your local points of contact. So that concludes my remarks today. So any questions, comments?
Let's see. I put most everything in the chat. or I did put the slides in the chat. Does anybody have any questions for Tim? We've got half an hour left, so plenty of time. Sure, covered a lot. I know. So you are the best point of contact initially for anyone if they've got a question about potentially getting funding for their ideas or their programs.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
I've been around a long time. So after
And
I haven't forgot everything yet.
can you talk a little bit more about the child care programs that you
Yeah.
have?
When I was with the Innovation Center still, we were contacted by Federal Reserve actually out of the mid Rocky Mountain area, because they've been, and the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis had been trying to solve it. They had a child care center. And so in partnership with another agency, we put together a resource guide looking at specifically targeting some of our funding to help childcare centers, because we're the infrastructure side, so we can build a center. But one of the things we've seen in this arena is that you can build it, but you still need the workforce there. And then, of course, it's the affordability issue as well. So there's kind of an internal conflict there, trying to pay a higher wage, but at the same time trying to keep it affordable. So I think that therein lies the issue. And so what we're doing in Washington State is we're trying to figure out what the space is first, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. So the Washington State Department of Commerce actually has a very robust child care center, and we're working with them and trying to figure out how we could bring federal resources to help them move the needle in Washington State. So we're still trying to noodle that, because again, we don't want to reinvent anything. We want to complement what's going on already. So we're working with Washington State Child Care, and I think they actually have a staff person that's located in the Sequim or the Pelham County area as well.
Yeah, Carlina.
Yes.
Braley. Yep.
Yeah.
We work with her regularly. So some things that I've been hearing about just recently are that the Makah tribe received an early learning facility grant, an ELF grant from the Department of DCYF, so Department of Children, Youth, and Families, for a couple $1 million to expand their center. But they said now they've got this big, beautiful center, but they didn't receive any funding for the to hire more people. And so they actually haven't expanded their child care services at all. And so they're looking for a solution there. Also, I know the YMCA is trying to grow in both, they have plans in both Port Townsend and in Port Angeles. In Port Angeles, I think it was $4 million in total that they will need to raise, and they've received at least one, probably more by now. But so they are trying to expand child care services. Additionally, the North Olympic Healthcare Network sounds like they're partnering with Shore Aquatic Center, and Shore Aquatic Center is exempt from having to do all the certifications. And they are working with OMC to potentially convert a former school district building and turning that into a child care center. And we've received at the EDC 4 grants over the last 4 years or so to help expand some of these programs. And Lori was instrumental in creating a child care center in Clallam Bay CQ that had none. And so that's going to be a for-profit LLC that is renting space from the school district. And we helped them apply for, we got grants that we provided to them, the funding for equipment and remodeling the space for their use there. So, and the rent, for example, is $50 a month. So to make it more viable but I'm wondering if like subsidies for people could be a potential for the actual parents, because we're finding, that's one of the things that I think people are looking at is subsidies or scholarships so that people get back into the workforce.
And that's we've heard that too, and that's something out of our realm because again, we're a bricks and mortar funding. I mean,
Okay.
we can help with the
Mhm.
construction of the facilities, but when it comes to actually the staffing, when I was with the Innovation Center, one of the examples we brought on was a rural electric cooperative in North Dakota that actually had built a facility for 100 kids, but they could only staff it for 40 because that's all they had the ability to find workers. That was their, I mean, there was plenty of demand for it. They just couldn't find the workforce for it.
Mhm.
And I think another example was that a lot of some small businesses have gotten together and kind of put a consortium up of helping, making it part of a package for the employees is helping subsidize it through that component for private subsidy versus a public subsidy.
Mhm.
Recognizing that actually that's going to drive economic value by having those workers available because they have a business-led childcare solution. And I
Mhm.
think a lot of anchor institutions, i.e. hospitals and stuff, are kind of looking at that as well, because there is such a demand for it. And there isn't one answer for it either. It's an all hands on approach, and it's the examples I think that need to be brought out of where the creativity is taking place.
Mhm. Yep. So James put a good question in the chat. He said, how do we get the local USDA job filled? I looked for a USDA job posting for Port Angeles and couldn't find one.
Yeah, because we're on a hiring freeze. Talk to your Congress people. They're the ones that give us the money to hire. You have a pretty good one here in what, Kilmer? Isn't he the representative? Yeah, I think he's well connected, but I probably shouldn't say that since it's being recorded.
We won't tell. So, okay. So the issue is a hiring freeze right now.
Well, hiring freeze and just staffing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, there's so many different opportunities there. And aren't there different windows when the grants are open, or are they open all the time?
Oh, that's unfortunately we're consistently inconsistent because it depends on the program. I mean, and we don't do a very good job because we'll wait because we don't get if it's an annual appropriations, Congress doesn't give us a budget. We get continuing resolutions, so we only partial, then we get a full budget. We're halfway through the fiscal year, and all of a sudden we got 30 days to get the money out, which
Okay.
is sometimes what it drives our customers crazy. It drives us crazy too, but unfortunately, we don't really have a control over that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if we had a budget on time, we can actually deliver our programs more timely on that. And some of them, for example, are we're open all the time, and sometimes it comes out in a notice annually. And so what we try to do is get that information out. So if you have subscribed to our Washington State Rural Development newsletter, we should get on time information for that. And then I try to keep people informed of different times frames as well. But the best thing to do is if you have a project, to let us know in advance so you can find out whether it's open all the time or whether you should be targeting for next year for 20, because right now we're actually in 2024 already looking for funding. And
Okay.
the fiscal year starts October 1st, and who knows what's going to happen. And you guys hear the news probably as much as I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Colleen Robinson with Habitat for Humanity has a question. Colleen?
Hi, Tim. Thanks for being here today. Really good information. First of all, I want to say thank you. The USDA 502 home loan program was a game changer. For our Habitat affiliate here locally, we were building one house every 12 to 18 months. And because we get the USDA funding at the closing, we could immediately roll over to the next house, and we did 8 houses in 3 years. So thank you for that. My question is about staffing for the USDA. Loans from the time we send in the application and information until we are funded has been as long as 6 months. And it feels like every loan that we do, each loan officer asks for different information that they didn't ask for before. I understand you said that you're having staffing issues, talk to our congressman, but it feels like as many Habitat, I think there's 25 Habitat affiliates in Washington. Not all are rural, but many have rural in their service area. What can we do to partner with you to expedite these loans getting processed sooner, quicker?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head, is that I've only been in this position since November of last year, so I'm still trying to figure out where the lanes are. But in our housing program, we are seriously understaffed, and that's where our focus is right now, is to get staff on board. For that, we're telling applicants that it's going to be about, if you're not part of because our self-help is our priority. And then some of our other programs are priorities to process. So 6 months actually isn't, unfortunately, we're telling people that it's about a 1.5 to 2 year waiting process right now to get things through, which is unfortunate. But we are trying, and we are in the process of actually adding staff in there. But unfortunately, it takes a while to bring them up to speed. So I think, Colleen, maybe if you want to connect with me, one of the things to do maybe is to have a webinar or a training with our staff and the habitats to kind of bring the consistency in, because we have a lot of new staff as well that are learning the system. And it is one of our sections that is that we're working on staffing up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will reach out to you offline.
Okay, appreciate that as well. Thanks.
Okay, does anyone have any additional questions for Tim? If not, I'm not seeing anybody. So, well, Tim, thank you. Tim, did you?
I did. Good morning, Tim. I'm kind of curious, what is the average home loan under the USDA for the self-help builds that USDA is doing? I know, okay.
About 200,000 or so, I think, is the loan amount, which is significantly less than the median household income. So that self-help actually does reduce the cost quite a bit. And then we have some really good partners that are providing the land at an affordable rate. We're working with trying to figure out, some of our housing partners are trying to do a lease. Then others are fee simple. So I think about 200 to 210 maybe is the average.
Okay. And then does that
again, real estate's location, right? So
yeah, and up here on the peninsula, it's getting more and more pricey. So yeah. I was just kind of curious if that was the average throughout the state, and what we're looking at, how we rate when you're looking across the state.
Well, you might, if you have time, go into our portal there and take a look. Might find the answer there, because we do. It's a good question, because it does come down to affordability and how many people we can reach.
Okay. Because I was just kind of wondering, is there allocations divided across the state, or is that just on whatever the annual budget is?
Well, we get an annual appropriations, and then when Congress gives our national office money, then they allocate it to the states. And then if we don't spend it by a certain time in the fiscal year, then they take it back and then pull it for the state. So we're actually at now, August 23rd, at about 230% of our allocation. So we're actually really doing well, even with our short staff. We're spending more than we were given by our national office.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right. Does anyone have any further questions for Tim? If not, I guess we'll give you guys back 13 minutes of your morning and say thank you very much for joining us today. Tim,
Much
thanks so
appreciated.
much.
Yep.
Really
and-
appreciate you doing this and being part of our community. Thank you.
Yeah, I started my married life 36 years ago yesterday. So came back home. Really appreciate it.
That's terrific. Thank you.
All right, take
And
care.
thanks for putting the link there, Carol. Okay,
Have a
bye-bye.
good day. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
I'll
Bye-bye.
just say go
Go
Cougs.
Cougs.
I saw that. I love it.